Patanjali's Yoga Sutra work as a roadmap on our journey in yoga and meditation. And that's why we are studying them one by one. Namaste, my name is Aparna, and today's video I'm going to talk about Patanjali's Yoga Sutra number 16 and 17. We are studying these Yoga Sutra to become firm in our practice so that we can attain the higher states of consciousness. So if you're here, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video and share with others who would like to progress on their yoga journey. So let's study Yoga Sutra number 16, which is Tat Param Purushukkhyatera Guna Vaitrashnam. We'll say it again. Tat Param Purushukkhyatera Guna Vaitrashnam. Meaning, when there is non-thirst for even the constituents of the nature. So remember Prakriti, the nature, what we are looking at through our senses. So when we have non-thirst, naturally, not that we create that non-thirst in a day or something, but when we have this non-thirst for the nature, for the constituents of the nature, because we have realized the true self. So once we realize the true self, which is the Purusha, and we know who we are, then there is this non-thirst that automatically emerges. And that is called supreme non-attachment. So remember, Patanjali talked about two ways to practice yoga. One is abhyasa and the second one is vairagya. Abhyasa is practice, vairagya is non-attachment. After explaining all those previous ways, if you haven't heard to my previous, I've covered all these Yoga Sutras up to here, and we are progressing and we are going to cover more. So if you haven't listened to Yoga Sutra number 1 to 15, then please find them in the recording and listen to those videos, and then you will know what Patanjali is talking at this place in Yoga Sutra number 16, because they're all linked with each other. So here he is talking about supreme non-attachment. So to understand supreme non-attachment, we need to know what is ordinary non-attachment. And believe me, it will take a very long time to develop even ordinary non-attachment. Ordinary non-attachment is also enough for some people to experience that peace and joy in their day-to-day living. But we are addressing here those who are on the path of attaining higher states of consciousness and want to be yogi in their day-to-day living. So higher form of vairagya, higher form of non-attachment is possible if we continue to attain jnana, if we continue to do the practice. But let's first understand what is ordinary non-attachment. So personal desires, that I want to own a house, there's nothing wrong with that. And if I want to get that particular dress in the shop, if you want to get those particular shoes, if you have a desire to be going out and partying. So developing a non-attachment towards personal desire and enjoyment, that we are always seeking a kind of low level of enjoyment. It is this enjoyment, and I'm not saying it is right or wrong, but that kind of enjoyment is temporary. Everything is temporary, but that form of enjoyment sometimes can be harmful. So that form of enjoyment and personal desires, if we become aware and if we start to kind of learn to not to delve into those enjoyments and personal desires all the time, then we have developed some form of vairagya. Some form of vairagya means a normal level of non-attachment. That mind is not always desiring to be running to the shop and buying this and buying that. And if I want something, I want it now. That kind of attachment. And even having that low level of attachment to people around us. So if you have a friend and you feel like, oh no, this is only my friend, she should only be spending more time with me, or my husband, my wife, my partner, and you're too clingy towards them, that is a low level of, that's severe attachment to a person, and it must be kept in check, that you love the other person, but you do not become clingy. So once we develop this level of non-attachment, then we can progress on our journey, and naturally that state of supreme non-attachment will arise. So we must find out what Patanjali is talking about when he's saying about supreme non-attachment. But before that, we must understand the role of sanskaras. Sanskaras are the impressions in our mind, where Patanjali is explaining about sanskaras, that something that happens leaves impressions in our brain. And those impressions remain. They cannot be just erased just like that, oh, now I'm aware and I'm going to erase all of them. No, they will keep coming back. And that's why people who were smokers or who had drinking problem, they may find it very hard to give up and then not to go back into that. That means they may use their willpower from the conscious mind, and from their conscious mind, they use their willpower and they refrain from consuming alcohol or smoking or drugs for, say, 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. And then those sanskaras, those impressions in the mind, lure them again. It's just like if they see some other person smoking, some other person going to the pub and drinking alcohol, immediately that impression will activate and it will say, what fun it was when I used to go to pub and drink and have fun with my friends. And now I said I'm going to do yoga, and now I don't drink. And that craving for that low level of enjoyment, that false sense of happiness takes over. And the person feels lured towards consuming alcohol again, smoking again, taking drugs again. These are extreme examples, but you can also see them in your day-to-day life. that if you were spending hours binge watching TV, and you refrained for a while, but then you go back. You started dieting, but then you again tempt and go back to that eating chocolates and eating cakes and sweets and fatty food. Why does this happen? Because of the sanskaras. Because we have that attachment. The brain has formed those neural pathways, and it has learned to seek enjoyment from those things. But Patanjali is saying that it's possible with abhyasa, with non-attachment, that you will reach to that stage where automatically your mind will not desire for those things. Your mind will become non-attached to that level of enjoyment. When you succeed in going within, how do you go within? Is when you meditate. So once you have learned to meditate for dirgha kala, for long time, and you have made a dradha bhumi, firm ground, a solid foundation, then automatically your mind changes and it becomes like that those impressions are slowly and gradually disappear. And you realize your true self. You know who you are. So once you know your true self, you kind of get that supreme non-attachment. And when that happens during meditation, the mind becomes pure. Satta chitta. Sat chit ananda. You must have heard this word, Satta Chitta Ananda. So Chitta is your inner perceptual space, your consciousness. It has become purified. See, when you make a gold, the goldsmith has to burn the raw material again and again in fire, and there is a process, and then it becomes purified and it becomes like a pure gold. In the same way, our chitta has to be purified before it attains higher level of non-attachment and higher level of consciousness. And when that happens, so when you attain that satta chitta, satta means true, chitta means consciousness, then you attain that ananda, which is a happiness, a steady level of happiness, where you are just happy for no reason. Your happiness does not depend on the other person. Your happiness comes from within. That source of joy is in you. And get that fully in your head, that there is nobody in this world who is in charge of your happiness or has power to make you happy. It's only you. Only the source of joy lies within here, within here. Once that is activated, it's like a little fountain that just keeps going on, and you stay in that state of blissful consciousness, ananda, happiness. And that is the result of vairagya. So when you develop supreme non-attachment, the end result is steady stream of happiness, ananda. And those who are on the path of bhakti yoga, it's a little bit easier for them, because every time they meditate upon their God, they think of their God, even that feeling of experiencing the company with their chosen deity, with their God, they just feel that bliss even momentarily. And then slowly that bhakti yoga, that attachment to the Supreme, which is non-visible, untangible, cannot be touched, cannot be seen. So it has to be like inner connection. And once they form that inner connection, that becomes the reason why they experience non-attachment with the worldly desires. So if you consider this world as a playground, you need to know the rules. And once you know the rules, you can play the game well. And the rule is that it's all illusion. It's not that if you develop the non-attachment or vairagya, that means you won't be a good mother or you will not care about your loved ones or you will not fulfill your responsibilities. Actually, stark opposite. Once you realize your true self, you are just present for your loved ones, for yourself. And you fulfill your responsibility. Every work that you do feels like a God's work. No matter what job you are doing, whether it's cleaning the street or serving the patients or working on computers or customer care, whatever job that you are in, you think, I'm not serving this another human. This is a service to God. This human is also a form of God. So developing that level of consciousness where you see God in all other people. So now we will talk about next Yoga Sutra, which is 17th Yoga Sutra. Vitarka vichara nanda smitanugamata sampragyatah. Vitarka vicharananda smitanugamata samprajnatah. So vitarka means reasoning. And reflecting is vikara or vichara. And then ananda is rejoicing. Samprajnata is like a state of samadhi. Samadhi is contemplation. If you know the 8 limbs of yoga, the last or the 8th limb is samadhi, which is possible only for few yogis. So there are different type of samadhi, and here Patanjali is talking about samprajnata samadhi, which is accompanied by reasoning, reflecting, rejoicing, and pure I-ness. So, again, the question, who am I? Who am I? Am I a mother, a daughter, a wife, a friend, a sister, a nurse, a midwife, a teacher, a doctor? Who am I? All these are just labels. Beyond these labels, you need to identify your true self. And once that pure, I am a soul, a divine being, beyond all these names and labels, the God particle. Once we get to know our pure self, then we are ready for the practice of samadhi or contemplation. So Patanjali, whatever he is giving you is pure scientific. Patanjali sees yoga as a science. And everything he had written in the Yoga Sutras has turned out to be a rigorous science that has been proven now by neuroscientists and by epigenetic researchers, by psychologists. So he gives you all type of tools that helps you to attain that state. In case this word samadhi is scary, but of course, not everybody will be ready for that state of samadhi right away. But by keep doing your practice, ultimately, when we have achieved concentration, when we have learned meditation, then it is possible to enter this state of samadhi. But before samadhi is possible, the mind should have learned that one-pointed concentration. And then Patanjali talks about two kinds of samadhi. One is called samprajnata samadhi and the other one is called asamprajnata samadhi. And then again, he divides it into four forms. The samprajnata samadhi is divided into four forms. And to understand that samprajnata samadhi, we need to know what is prakriti, what is nature. So you must have learned in your yoga classes a lot of these terms called purusha and prakriti. Purusha is purusha and prakriti. Purusha is your true self and prakriti is the nature. So the journey from nature to true self. And that is what we need to understand. And then there are further divisions, but we won't go into that much of detail because I think first we need to do our abhyasa and understand non-attachment, practice non-attachment, supreme non-attachment, and then we will be ready after Dirgha Kala, after a very long time, to enter the state of Samadhi. So I can't wait to bring more Yoga Sutras for you because it gives me as much joy to study and to share them with you. If you enjoy these Yoga Sutras, please don't forget to share with your group of yoga friends and subscribe to my channel. Namaste, and we will meet again soon. Keep practicing yoga and meditation.